Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here. John here, you there. And we started 5 minutes early. Have to be out hard out at 11 o'clock because we've got to get ready for Atlanta United 2, Columbus Crew 2. And that will be on the network tomorrow night. And it was the information was released yesterday that the match will be at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. We'll have the pregame for you starting at 7:15. Match starting a little after 7:30, and it'll be a big test for Atlanta United too, with Columbus currently leading the division. So found out that news yesterday, and so 7:30 kick, a little after 7:15 pregame here on the SDH network, and a big test for Atlanta United too. And we get to catch up with Steve Cook for our preparations for it at 11 o'clock. So that's why I started 5 minutes early. We're going to end at 11 o'clock today. Here's your traffic. All right. The traffic in and of itself is fairly traditional. Nico's going to join us at 10:30 as I sit here and try and grab my notes and grab whatever I have here in front of me. And so let's see. Yeah, Nico's at 12:30. And I'm sorry, Nico is at 10:30. And there will be other programming throughout the day. The NPSL recap and advancement for the playoffs, that will be up later today. USL League 2 is in their round of 16. And we will we caught up with folks from Lions Bridge and Trent Escola from Little Rock Rangers. So you'll have programming later today on USL playoffs in League 2 and the NPSL playoffs. So we'll have that for you later on today. Nico joining us at 10:30. Hopefully, Nick Alifi can join us since Nick was at the matches last night. Jarrett was at the matches last night, but he got to actually enjoy it. You and 70,000 of your friends got to see Brentford and Brighton. Man, it's going to be one of those days. Brentford, Brighton, two of the really great underrated minds that don't get a whole lot of attention, Thomas Frank and Roberto De Zerbi. And we'll get Nick to come in hopefully this morning, and he can discuss what he saw. He wanted to see Sandro Tonali and how things are lined up for him in a Newcastle sense. So we've got that to look at. And so we'll have all of that going on as well. So once again, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. And it is time for the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15, and they in turn take 15% off your purchase. And thanks to everybody who has so far taken 15% off of their purchase and using Kickoff Coffee to help stack your pantries and get you ready for your day. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and at kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, yesterday, it was the build-up. You know, you had the Premier League Summer Series, and trust me, trying to find any kind of gear. The one thing I couldn't find yesterday was a scarf. You know me and scarves, as you can tell here in the office. But I could not find a scarf yesterday. That was the biggest thing for me. Of course, spent a fortune, got a couple of T-shirts, got the hat, got the thing, got everything. The one thing I couldn't find is a scarf. My guess is I'm going to have to go on eBay and try and find those kind of things. Wanted to know, for those of you that went, what you thought. Michael's in already this morning. And he says he thought the grass looked good, and I think it did too. The ball seemed to roll true. Saw one of the coaches said it was fine. Did anyone else see other comments? I haven't seen any other comments, Michael, but yeah, to your point, the grass looked great. And, you know, for the $300 $100,000 investment, I think. I mean, I think it held up pretty well with the practices and everything. There weren't any ruts, and there weren't any gaps or ridges or anything like that that could have caused any problems like we saw in South America. I want to say it was in the Copa Argentina, where I don't know if you guys saw this video, and if I can find it, I'll post the link, where players trying to go to the penalty spot, and he takes a step to the left of the dot, and his foot basically goes down a good 2 or 3 inches and disrupts the penalty spot, literally moves the penalty spot. And so they had to walk to the other end of the pitch. They had to tamp down the grass and make sure that they could actually have penalties being taken. Not that you didn't have that. You didn't have that. But, I mean, it seemed fairly true last night. Didn't have any ruts, didn't have any ridges. Looked like it responded well to all the activity. And we keep an eye on. And Abby, you're right. It was a little brown, especially toward the end lines. The way on the press box side specifically. So as you were looking, it was brown right there on the edges. But I think in the most of the pitch, 90% of the pitch, I think it looked pretty good. Great to have everybody there, all 71,000 of you. Tafka talks about the improved sight lines by pushing the inline forward a yard or so. Can it be done for Atlanta matches? You've got to do that, Tafka. I think the way that works, yeah, and true, might have been easier to see without the stage. Tafka, I think the way that works is, and it's that you have a set dimension at the beginning of the season. And even if it's the slightest adjustment, you can't change it over from the way it is on first day. You can't change it like halfway, midway, however many matches through the season you want. Whatever that first day dimension is, that's what you have for the season. You can't change it then. Maybe if, folks sit there and they'll look at it, and I'm sure that they'll analyze everything that was, and that, yeah. So, and I think that's what you look for. It's like you take your lessons from what you had from Atlanta United this year. You take your lessons from the summer series, you piece them together, and then you see how you want the things to look for 24 and beyond. So, at the beginning of the season, you have a dimension, and for the sake of parity, not PARODY, but making sure that everything is equal for everyone. That say you've got a match with Vancouver coming in, or St. Louis, and they get dimension A. You can't change it later in the year when, say, LAFC comes to town. So whatever that first dimension is, you have to have that for the full season. So that's the rationale there. But I'm glad everybody that wanted to go see the summer series got to go see it last night. 71,000 folks, just shy of 71,000 last night. And it was, it was cool. I'll admit it, because, as the guy that hosts Prem and Proper here on the network, to see, for me, and if Nick's able to join us this morning or Friday or whenever Nick joins us for the next time, we found just as much enjoyment in looking at Brighton and Brentford than we did in Chelsea and Newcastle, if that makes any sense, because of those two up-and-coming teams finished within 3 points of each other. Brighton finished in 6th with 62. Brentford finished winning 3 of their last 4. They finished at 59 points, and they were right there. But those are two really good minds in the Premier League right now. And for me, it was just as exciting to see that first match and to see what we're getting out of Brighton coming up in the 23 season, hopefully. Got to see Moises Caicedo. Yeah, and they were quiet, and Abby sat in a different seat. She couldn't see the sideline, and now you're not going to exchange your seat ever unless you can get the front row. Yeah, and I think that Abby, I think that, you said the crowd was very quiet for the first match. And I think that it's because of, you had your diehards that were there. And I saw folks that were wearing Brighton and Brentford jerseys and such. But I think that you had a lot of folks who were Chelsea and Newcastle fans who came in out of the heat, wanted to see the first match. They just wanted to get there, get settled, and see what was going on. They didn't have a vested interest in that first match of the doubleheader. But for the curious person who wants to see Brighton and Brentford, because when's the next time that you're going to have Brighton and Brentford in a summer series? Probably. But to see how other teams are going about it. Got to see Moises Caicedo for 30 minutes or just under 30 minutes. So it was good to see him and all of that. But obviously the second match was the one where everybody was gassed up, ready to go. And it was an interesting crowd. I mean, you obviously, for a lot of different reasons, the Newcastle noise was a lot louder than the Chelsea noise, although it was fairly even at points. But Nico Jackson scores, and now everybody is sitting. Now, get this. Let me see if I can. Did I bring my sheet with me? Hang on. And this is something for. Yeah, I think I've got my lineup sheet right here. Okay. For those watching on social media and not listening later, I've got my lineup sheet here for Newcastle and Chelsea, and I'll show it to you just to kind of show what we get up in the press box. All right, so that's your lineup sheet. Now, you see how this is the Chelsea side. I'm having to do this backwards. This is the Chelsea side. That's the Newcastle side. So Chelsea side's right here. Newcastle side's right here. You notice something? The Chelsea side has 15 substitutes. Newcastle does not. 3, 6, 8 substitutes for Newcastle, 2 of them goalkeepers. Chelsea had 2 keepers and 13 other position players. So Mauricio Pochettino brought 26 with him to Atlanta. Obviously, if you're trying to figure out who you're keeping and who you're not, you want to make these kinds of decisions. But the mere fact that you had a starting 11 and then you had 15 other dudes that you wanted to possibly take a look at, that was the interesting part in all of this. Let's bring Jarrett in here, opening kickoff. And Jarrett, I was getting into the discussion about Newcastle and Chelsea, and I showed the lineup sheet where Newcastle had 8 substitutes last night, 2 of them keepers. Chelsea brought 15 extra dudes with them, 2 of them keepers. And so it was interesting to see a Chelsea bench that had 26 last night, and Newcastle, who Newcastle only had 19 with them. Chelsea had 26 with them last night. It was very, very interesting to see how the approaches were. And I was discussing the first match too, where you had Brighton and Brentford, 2 of the younger, the 2 of the clubs that were making their climbs, with 2 of the really good managers that folks don't get to see a lot in Thomas Frank and Roberto De Zerbi. Your thoughts from the night so far?
I'm always fascinated to see how people respond to these sort of summer series things, because they're ultimately friendlies. So you're looking for the fun moments. You got it last night with Almiron scoring right at the death of the half.
We'll play that.
You got that moment. But other than that, it's friendlies. You're seeing what you got. You'll feature some of your big name guys sometimes, just to kind of appease the crowd in the gladiatorial arena, so to speak. But otherwise, these guys are looking at their rosters. Pochettino is he's looking to see what he's got depth wise. I don't blame him. I'm glad he brought such a big squad, because you're looking to see right now, hey, this is what we got. This is what I might have in the lower levels, B-side academy, whatever you want to call it, cult league, however you want to phrase it. You want to see what you got, because you're taking over, in his instance, a project that has been marred by just trash for the inconsistency. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say trash, because you did come off with winning Champions League a couple of years ago. But it's just wildly inconsistent. You've gone through managers at an absolute clip.
Mm-hmm.
You have gone through ownership changes now. You've had a lot going on. Um, and he should be bringing a bunch of people. Got a better idea what's going on with Eddie Howe.
Yep.
Better idea of what you want to do. You got everything you could have wanted though out of it. You got a goal from each side. Got some young players to play. Had some really fun moments. And Miguel Almiron got his moment in the sun.
Yep, he did.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
All right, and here's Nick. So before we go any further into the discussion, since Jarrett, you mentioned it, here is that moment as called by Joe Spate and Robbie Earl last night on Peacock. And this is courtesy, once again, obviously, of Peacock and our friends at the Premier League. It was a moment indeed.
Gordon. Lovely run by Gordon. There's a pass on there too, and he sees it, and he has done. It's Miguel Almiron in for Newcastle. It just had to be. Trademark Miguel Almiron. The celebration to mark a special moment. Welcome home, say the locals here. And he's returned with a goal. It's what they all came to see. What a noise, what a moment.
And it had to be, as you say, it's almost scripted. It looks level as the ball's being played and knows exactly what he wants to do. He wants to get on that left foot. And then he wants to steer the ball away from Kappa. He holds his run here and then he's in. He knows exactly where he wants to place this ball. It's in that side netting away from the goalkeeper. And how many times have they seen it in this stadium in the colours of Atlanta United? And now they see it in the black and white of Newcastle United.
So, Nick, I'll get to Jarrett's response here in a second, since Nick is now with us to discuss.
That's right.
71,000 of your friends showed up last night and got that moment at the tail end of the first half.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. I mean, the pop. If you did not attend the match last night, and you think that what you just heard was loud, Mercedes-Benz, in my opinion, from the games that I have attended, has not been that loud since MLS Cup. I mean, it was full on WWE Roman Reigns taking the steel chair to the back level pop. I mean, it hockey sticked, right? John, you were talking about that, how it started as a roar as we saw earlier in the match. Miguel Almiron's right foot is still kryptonite. But when we saw that he had moved the ball to his left foot and he cut in, and as soon as he got that angle, the crowd started to rise. And the minute the ball found the back of the net and he did the fusion celebration, it was absolute insanity. It was liquid insanity. The crowd went nuts. We were going nuts. Blue shirts, white and black shirts. Everyone was standing. Everyone was going nuclear. It was Chernobyl in a distilled, refined, beautiful way. Absolutely poetic. You could not write it any better.
Well, and Jarrett, to Nick's point, Nick and I were working. We were in the press box. You were there as a civilian with the boss. So we know what the noise was, and Nick's comment about the Sami Zayn Alamo Dome hitting Roman Reigns in the back of the chair. That noise, that's your YouTube search for the day. You find that when he hits him in the back with a chair, and the absolute just launch of all of the decibels in that building. What was it like sitting in your seats to see that moment?
Yeah, you saw it coming. The ball's played a good through ball. It's got great weight to it.
Yep. Cucurella
ankle. Yes, he took a very, very bad angle. Like, he's going to have to watch that back in film. He should have to watch that, like, sitting in an uncomfortable chair for a while. I don't care if it's a friendly. Can't do that during the season. But yeah, like, as he gets it, you're like, oh, he's going to get this on. Is he going to have enough space to get this? Because you think about his body positioning there, you can't shield the ball as well on the right side when you put it on your left foot. You are technically putting it closer to the defender who is chasing your ass down from the inside. But he's able to get it off because, and we talked about this when he was here, man. If Miguel Almiron had even a shred of a right, like even an afterthought of a right foot, Miguel Almiron would be like a $70 million player.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. I don't inflate stuff like that normally. Typically, I go conservative. I completely agree. He would have been, at minimum, he would have been a 50 million player if he had anything of a right foot.
Yep. Anything at all. Instead, he has one left foot, and the other part is basically Casper the Friendly Ghost. And he just, and the thing is though, like it's not as simple as, you know, oh, he's going to put it in the far corner. Well, if you're the keeper and you overcommit to that far corner thinking he's going to do that, what you end up with is what happened for Atlanta and Charlotte early in the season, where Luis Araujo scored in Charlotte where he went near post. If you start overcommitting that far post and he sees you do that, he's going to take that left foot, wrap it around the ball, and snapshot it into the near post and catch you leaning. Yeah, the pop was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
The pop was insane. And look, I don't really, as far as like the pop compared to, because I know a lot of people, even in the stadium last night, were going on about how the problems of Atlanta United since 2019, since the end of 2019. I'm like it's not even about like, for me, it wasn't even about they haven't given you something to cheer about like that. It's like there's something special about Miguel Almiron outside of how Atlanta United has existed since then. And I'd love to have that conversation with like people in Newcastle who are Newcastle fans but grew up in that. Like, I don't know how else. I don't know what a good comparison for them would be, because imagine you get a brand new team that becomes your pride and joy, and you get this star who no one had ever heard of outside of like the South American contingent, like the sickos of South America. And then he comes in and he is, probably the best player to ever come through your league in terms of just raw, beautiful skill and potential. And yeah, I got the guys that put up better numbers in MLS. I get it. But Miguel Almiron, it was and is unbelievably special. And then he comes home and scores and comes home. He's going back to Paraguay,
home.
but
it's home. It's home. Yeah.
He comes home and he does that, and yeah, you're gonna get an MLS Cup level pop. I'm not comparing it to anything that's happened since 2020 going forward. It's just that the guy who got the curtain call coming off the field in MLS Cup,
Mm-hmm.
and who gave you all of these magical moments, leaves and then is able to come home in, look, man, it almost kind of felt like a testimonial.
Yeah.
That kind of vibe to it. But it was beautiful. It was magical. And yeah, the pop was the pop was just different. And Nick's right. It was Chelsea fans as well, because you get that crossbreed of Chelsea Atlanta United fans. A ton of blue jerseys there last night. I think I only found like one station that was selling Brighton stuff. Like most of it was Chelsea, some Newcastle stuff. Like it was, and then a lot of like Premier League branded stuff, which I don't know, man. Like it's just me. I can get a damn. I don't want Premier League branded stuff. I don't want to be Rob Lowe sitting at the 49ers game with an NFL hat, because that's what it is.
I just hope everyone
Premier
wins.
League gear.
Oh, Nick, go ahead, Nick.
Well, I was gonna say it's the mom thing of I just hope everyone wins.
No,
it's a great time for everyone.
no. My favorite thing we talked about in the concourse. My favorite thing would have been like Chelsea go down 3-0 in 15 minutes.
Jarrett,
Chelsea has been an absolute hell for the past like year and a half, 2 years. Chelsea fans I know are just they're hopeful, and I appreciate that hope because I think that hope is important. You hope that Pochettino will turn this around, and I think he's got a good shot to do it if he's given time and given resources and allowed to impact the moves that get made. It'd have been hilarious if they'd have gone down 3-0 inside of 15 minutes because that place was very blue last night.
Well, to me, Chelsea looked like a group of players who were desperately fighting for the last seat on Pochettino's arc. Because they brought half of West London on their roster, right? I mean, the roster was – how many people do they have, John?
26, 15 on the bench.
Okay, 15 people on the bench. And we have heard all the fun stories about how Chelsea's locker room, they had to take players and like stick them in another place because they had too many people on the roster. They are fighting for the last seats on the arc, baby. And it showed last night. You had guys who were, it was a very scrappy game from the jump. And I can't say that, it was disappointing at all because typically you get these preseason games and it's all like, okay, we're going to jog around a bit and we're going to, we're going to just pass the ball. Oh, it's a turnover. Unfortunate. No, baby. I mean, you had guys getting yanked to the ground. You had dudes getting double cleated. I mean, it was, and then the crowd, for the first game, the Brighton and Brentford game really, really impressed me. I mean, Brighton just looks like if you are a Premier League supporter at all, you should really have an eye on Brighton. And if you are new to the Prem, welcome to the sport. I would highly recommend looking at Brighton as as a team you should probably look at supporting because De Zerbi has those boys flying. But I expected a slower, more, I'm not going to say scripted because that doesn't sound right, but I would expect it a little bit more of a wink and a nod.
Methodical?
Yeah, well, more of like, hey, look, the teams look at each other and go, look, we're going to put on a show. We're going to dance around a bit. I swing at you, you swing at me, and then we all call it good. It was anything but that. You could see both teams really wanted to win. Chelsea just looked like the collection of players didn't quite look like a team, but they looked like a collection of players who really, really wanted the roster spot. Mm-hmm. So to me, they looked a bit better. Tonali looked a little out of sorts, like he's trying to find he's expecting defenders to be in coverage where that didn't happen. And it also appeared to me that, and I saw this with Tonali, where it seemed like he was a little slow in getting back. And I think, again, that's just because the coverage that he was expecting behind him did not materialize. So, but it was a very, very fun game. And as much as I hate on the Premier League, and I do with regularity, not because the Prem's terrible, but because the Prem faces that make social media toxic in general, I loved this event. I thought that they did a great job sourcing teams. I'm so thrilled that we did not get a Liverpool-Manchester United walkathon. But instead we got something that had a little bit of spit and fire to it. Send more mid-tier teams, the teams outside of the traditional top six, send them here because I will take all of that. A lot of fun.
Well, and
to Nick's point, I think people might have been expecting the walkthrough. The walkthrough. Okay, we're just gonna put on a show for the people in Chelsea. Showed up as Thunder Lips.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, great callback.
Yeah,
just start throwing people around.
Yeah, and then when they go to the locker rooms, hey, yeah, I'll sign. I'll sign the autograph. Yeah, it's
take a picture with Adrian and the kid.
Yeah.
It was. I put it this way: it was my first time in the press box at Mercedes-Benz. I think I've been pretty darn good about not filing for media passes for games because I like being at the Sicilian roots take over. I am a man of the people. I want to be with the normal people, with the spilling beer, and the chicken tenders flying through the air, and the really terrible. I don't know when Brewster's decided to go like and up the sugar content, but the sugar smell from Brewster's is almost overwhelming. Put me in the crowd with all of that. So, short story long, being in the press box, you have access to fine foods, a functional Carvel machine.
Mm-hmm.
We had Pellegrino.
Yeah, you had Pellegrino.
Glass bottle Pellegrino, by the way.
Ooh, bougie.
Ooh, I was super bougie last night, man. I was living it up. But I was like, I'll go and get some cookies or something. I'll go take a walk away from it. And then, but the game was so enjoyable. I'm like, damn, I can't leave. Because if I leave, something stupid is going to happen and I'm going to miss it. And to have that cross my mind in a friendly is a statement in itself. The fact that I felt like I can't walk away from this game, from either one of these games, because one, Brighton passing like on their own goal line was probably one of the ballsiest things I think I've seen. I mean, they
were hitting like 30-yard switches on their goal line.
Oh my God, Steele, the keeper for Brighton. I mean, that dude, you are not kidding when you say that, Jarrett. He was like on his own goal line, parking the ball downfield. It was an ICBM. I mean, that it was like absolutely laser guided to where it needed to go. Triple GPS satellite clearance. I mean, that thing was nuts. But it says to the quality of the games that you felt like, damn, I can't leave. And if you only showed up for the Newcastle-Chelsea game, you robbed yourself. I want you to look yourself in the mirror today, and I want you to say, you know what, self, I was robbed, and I need to haul myself in because I'm guilty on all charges of ignoring what turned out to be an amazing game. The Bees came to play.
Mm-hmm.
They were just outmatched by a very, very sharp Brighton team. And those Brighton jerseys didn't look too bad, man. Those the green with the black. The little Sassuolo action happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I was feeling it. To go to both games, the doubleheader setup was just chef's kiss. Beautiful. And if you could not make it, then you should scold yourself.
And also you missed out on Soccer Over There legend Moises Caicedo.
Yes. yes, you did. It was and I'm going to agree with Michael Head here for a moment. The chances taken in the back, especially during the Brighton game, it was almost like a boxer who willingly puts himself in the corner. Like if you go back and you watch any of the old Ali matches,
rope-a-dope.
Yeah, where Ali goes to the corner. Well, instead of absorbing all this punishment, is just like bobbing and weaving, and every punch being thrown is missing. I'm going back to my notes here, and the Adam Webster on the back line for Brighton. He put on a masterclass. Every time he made a break, following a runner, he was in the absolute right position at the right time, making stop after stop after stop. And immediately under intense pressure with Brentford players just bum rushing the goal, trying to make something happen, they passed the ball back to Steele, who's literally standing in his own goal. The ball is like an inch and a half away from his line, and he parks the ball 35 yards, 40 yards downfield, right on the foot of where it needs to go. If you missed that kind of action, if you only showed up for the Newcastle-Chelsea game. And I get why. I understand. It's Brentford. It's Brighton. I'm going to need you to broaden your horizons on the next go-round, because that was spectacular.
Before we continue the conversation with all the stuff that's been going on with the 70,000 last night at Mercedes-Benz for Summer Series, like I said, Ricky, I'm with you. The only thing I was missing was a scarf. We actually have some twos news. So we'll get into the twos news just here for a second. We talked about the crew and the crew coming in. The match on Friday night is going to be at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. And we have signings for Atlanta United 2. Matias Gajardo and Chris Gloucester are joining Atlanta United 2. The Twos have signed midfielder Matias Gajardo via transfer from River Plate for the remainder of the 23 season and defender Chris Gloucester via loan from Major League Soccer. The club has a team option for 2024 on Gajardo. Gajardo's 19, joins on a free from River Plate, attacking midfielder who joined their academy in 2014 when his father, Marcelo Gajardo, was named manager of the first team. So he worked his way through the academy, first team debut, second half sub back in March. Gajardo's played with River Plate's reserve team the past couple of seasons. Gloucester might be familiar for you, who are MLS Knicks, for lack of a better word. Those you really know your rosters. Last played for NYC, 15 appearances across all comps, 21 and 22. First start of the season came against Santos de Huapiles in CCL. So you got Chris Gloucester being added as a 22-year-old defender, 6 foot from Montclair, New Jersey, signed for the remainder of the season via loan from Major League Soccer. Matias Gajardo, free transfer from River Plate for the remainder of 23 with a club option for 24. So that's where we are. We've got a couple of signings for the Twos this week.
I need people to also, like, because when this dropped yesterday, I know everybody's in a bad mood about transfers because the window's closing and they're waiting for the actual announcements to come through. You need everybody to take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the news of the rumors of, hey, Matias Gajardo, you look him up and you say, hey, he's only played with the River Reserves. Before you burn a house down, ask yourself, does this sound like a first-team move or a move for the future where he might be coming in with the Twos? Just ask yourself before you burn the house down. Because once you burn the house down, the house will burn down. You can't unburn it.
Yep.
Take a deep breath when you see those moves. Like, if it looks like, I don't know if that guy's first team, he might be second team. He might very well be second team. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times when it's reported out of Argentina, it's reported organization-wide. So when they say Matias Gajardo is joining Atlanta United, they might not necessarily mean the first team. They might just mean the organization. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean he's signing a first-team deal right away. And
See, Jarrett starts to complain about
third man.
Yep. Robots.
We'll let him change his cell signal.
Yeah,
The humans are dead. The humans are dead.
Yes, there you go. All right, Jarrett, one more time.
Big MLS and big transfer doesn't want me to talk.
Yes, exactly.
Big transfer window. I'm being silenced against my.
The transfer industrial complex is taking you out, Jarrett.
Fabrizio Romano decided he didn't want competition. But it's like when they announce that stuff, when they say like, oh, so and so is joining Atlanta United, it's just the organization wide. It doesn't mean first team or second team. Just wait for that news to drop. Gloucester, I'm fine with. You're taking a flyer on a guy who's got experience. Yeah, see what he's got. You've done this in the past with the Twos. You've done this very well in the past with the Twos, with taking guys who have gone on to have pretty good pro careers in USL, especially. So good for him.
Yeah, Gloucester, former youth national team World Cup player, last with NYCFC. So 2 moves for the Twos, with crew coming to town tomorrow night. And I guess since we're talking transfers, we're still trying to disseminate information from Turkish sources and trying to figure out, okay, what's the latest? What do we know? So here's what we know. And once again, it's completely dependent upon sourcing and who are your tier 1 sources in Turkey. So here's what we're seeing. We don't know a thing. Here's what we've seen. Luis Abram could or could not be going to Sivasspor. We've seen both. Nothing up to date over the last 4 days on the Sabah Lobjanidze front from Hatayspor. Initial thoughts were that they were $500,000 apart, allegedly negotiating. Diego Rossi, once again, depending on your sources, representatives have either flown to the United States to discuss things with Atlanta United and other MLS clubs, or they haven't. There's either a number on the board or there's not. And the number could be anywhere from $2.5 million on an initial loan with an option to buy for the end of the year, or trying to recoup as much as the entire transfer price of 8 to 10. So basically, you got a lot of folks saying a lot of different things about a couple of players.
And I'm going to hammer this because I feel like it needs to be hammered.
Yep.
You've had Doug, Rob, and now Tom Bogert all sit there and put water on this Diego Rossi thing. I understand it's still going on the Twitters. I understand that Turkish Twitter is still talking about it. I get it. I'm just telling you that you've had multiple people throw water on it. So if it don't happen, it appears it does not right now. Right now it looks that way. If it don't happen, don't necessarily view this as ball dropping on Atlanta's part. God only knows where the sourcing is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, Atlanta might have just called up and said, hey, you don't seem to like him. How much is he? Oh, that much? Nah, we cool. Like, it could have been that. It could have been anywhere in between. But you've already had people throwing cold water on it. Just slow your roll. Be realistic about that. Because, yeah, maybe something changes in the next 72 hours. No clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah, we got.
They might come out of left field with something weird. We don't know.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to present every element of everything that we have seen involving three players incoming.
I just want to make it clear that, like, you've got MLS side people, especially Tommy Scoops, who is as good as you're going to get within the league.
Mm-hmm.
You got Tommy Scoops throwing water on. I just want to make it clear. And yeah, I'm cool. We want to go through that. The rumor mill going around. I'm totally cool with that. I just want to make sure we give it, both the other end of that spectrum of on the MLS side, we getting water thrown in it. And yeah, Niall, I agree with Niall. I think Turkish fans just want him gone.
They do.
Like, this would be like it's like if Atlanta United Twitter just came together, hive-minded about making a bunch of rumors about trading Luis Araujo away before he was gone. Where they were like, what if we just said he's going to go to Corinthians?
Yeah.
And then you just started seeing a ton of people do that. I think I think they are trying to will it into existence.
Yeah. So you're got a week left in the window, and it's trying to determine, okay, outbounds, inbounds. You're sourcing here in the States. We don't know the level of sourcing in Turkey. We've kind of been learning our sourcing when it comes to South America and Europe. Turkey is a new animal for us, and the Turkish Premier League is a new animal for us when it comes to who's your tier A's, who's your plus ones, who's your plus twos, and who you end up putting in file 13. So that's where we are. That's what we've heard. And once again, that's inbound. Outbound from the U.S. heading toward the Turkish information has been putting water on it, pouring water on it the whole time. Inbound from Turkey, you've got everybody saying pretty much everything that combinations of Sabah Lobjanidze and Diego Rossi's are children of God who like to do their laundry on Tuesdays. That's the kind of information that you're getting inbound. Outbound, you're seeing the national stuff. So that's where we are with a week left in the window. Let's see. Michael discussing last night, and Abby discussing last night too. Let me get to what Abby was saying. Abby said she did something she never does at Mercedes-Benz. She roamed the stadium, checked all the food places, tried some new foods, tried to talk to people casually, and in no hurry to get to her seats. Didn't get upstairs until well into the second half of the first match. Saw so many people enjoyed roaming, went up to the 300s to see friends she hadn't seen in years. Sat in her seats for a little bit, two meetups in one night for two separate games. And I think that that's another cool element of this kind of a thing where you get to, we're so locked into that game day routine for Atlanta United that, Nick, we have these elements where we're seeing people who are stopping us in the concourse as we're walking back and forth. And it's like, it's an entirely different social experience but I think it's a good one to have in these kinds of situations.
Well, they weren't stopping to talk to me, man. They were stopping to talk to you. They had no idea who I was. They were like,
I thought Nick was the bodyguard.
They're like, who is this bald Smurf standing next to John? God, hey John, how you doing, man? What's going on? They would come up and shake hands and, oh my God, it's John Nelson.
Oh,
But yeah, look, when I go to games, and I know that it's a huge social event. I think I've been to since 2018. I think I've been to one tailgate, and that was like 2 weeks ago. I try to be as antisocial as humanly possible when I am soccer's Larry David when I show up to these games. I get in, I go to the concession stand right there by my section in 233, and I'm immediately back to the seats.
Yeah,
that's it. So if you come down and say, "Oh, there's Nick," I'm going to go down and talk to him. You're probably going to get looked at like you're a space alien, because I'm so not even used to being like in the social mindset when I'm at the games. And so it's not that I don't recognize that I'm so like my brain is somewhere else entirely. So for those who go to the games and enjoy the social interactions and trying different locations and food, that's great. My only thing I wanted to do was hit up Sublime Donuts, and apparently Sublime Donuts is not there anymore.
Oh.
And so my dream has been ruined. To all of you who did not go to Sublime Donuts, including myself, I blame all of you, but not myself. And yeah, so
Sublime in years.
If you see me at a game, smile and nod and wave, I'll smile and nod and wave back. But yeah, I appreciate all of you who are social. I'm just not. I'm a weird character in those situations.
Jarrett, Abby is legitimately asking about the Carvel, and she's wondering if it is legitimately Carvel or just soft serve.
It's legitimate.
Yeah, it's the good stuff.
Yeah, it's Carvel. Although I did the same thing. We just walked around for parts of the games, and like I ended up in the 300 level at the end of the night. I was hungry and found a giant bowl of mac and cheese covered with brisket, and tried to obliterate what's left of my arteries.
Oh,
I think that's the thing, though, Jared. Like when you're tall, you have places to hide weight gain. I do not possess that ability. So, like any weight gain at all, instantly I become round, and so there's nowhere to hide any sort of weight gain. Mm-hmm. And so I was sitting there with John yesterday. I'm like, look, man, if I go get this Carvel thing, man, this is not going to be good for anyone at all. And then the Carvel machine kept talking to me, almost like the ring of power in the Lord of the Rings, like, Nick, get ice cream. And then finally I was like, okay, yeah, this is why you could never, even though I may look like a hobbit, you could not give me the ring to carry to Mordor, because that thing would be on my finger in about 37 seconds. And I'm man enough to admit it, because I can't even turn down the Carvel machine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
what I'm getting from this is we need an Italian version of Lord of the Rings.
Oh, it'd be over in 20 minutes.
Italians.
Mm-hmm. It'd be over in 20 minutes. The movie would be like, yep, Sauron won. the hobbits were, the hobbitinis were rolling along, and they stopped to eat some prosciutto, and the bad guys caught him and killed them all during a prosciutto break. That's exactly how Italian Lord of the Rings would go down.
Yep. Everybody's looking at Revolution Donuts is saying is better. Ricky went to Truist, found out the Waffle House is gone. Abby goes to Florida to get her Carvel.
Explains why the Braves are on a losing streak right there.
I know, really. David ran into Darren Eels in the area by the Big Falcon last night. Got a nice photo. And Darren, as always, very, very cool. And it's good that Darren got to come back here and witness what's going on. I am looking forward to the docuseries, since I have now officially seen the trailer involving Newcastle on Prime. So I'm looking forward to that. Emilio getting into the window with a week to go. He says, window's about subtractions, which are needed to be done. Still more to go. Additions feel underwhelming, but I expect more in the winter. The concern, can we replace 5+ players over the winter? It's weird. I think you can. That's what the
winter is going to be The winter is going to be the one, I think, and Emilio and I have talked about this. Winter is going to be the one where a lot of like stuff gets done, decisions get made, feelings might get hurt, people might be happy, might be sad. If I'm not mistaken, you got a lot of contracts that are up for this winter, or options are available for this winter.
A lot.
You got the potential for a lot of things to happen this winter.
A lot. And that's what a lot of folks are looking at. I'll go back into Transfermarkt. I know that at the top of the hour, we probably should get into the women's match against the Netherlands. So we'll talk about that. Apparently, Lindsey Horan will talk in third person, and the last thing you want to do is turn her into the Incredible Hulk, which is what we found out yesterday. Don't get Lindsey Horan angry. Don't get her very, very angry. But your contracts that folks are looking at here, this is what you're looking at. Contracts that go away at the end of 2023. Westberg, Gazan, I think Brad has an option for, I think, one or two more. Ozzy, Clement Diop, Sadic, Hosechu, Miles, Jackson Conway, Purata's loan, Firmino, and you got a decision there. Aiden McFadden, Miguel Berry, Franco Ibarra is out on loan, so he is still under contract. And Luke Brennan turns into a homegrown. So that's what you're staring at right now with Atlanta United's contracts that end at the end of the calendar year. So that's definitely folks that you're looking at to figure out decisions going forward with all this stuff.
Yeah, I would like to see Firmino, Brennan, Sadic for sure. I keep looking around at keepers, and I know that there are some people who would be like, well, Brad's had his day, and it's hard coming back from injuries at age, and I understand that. But we've also seen where people have tried to, replace their starting keepers with, shall we say, less than stellar results. I don't know, man. I would not be mad if the team picked up a 1-year option on him. That's just my 2 cents on it. I await people's hate mail, but you really want to have someone who's at least stable in the back. It's if you're on the back line and you have a keeper who's quiet or a keeper who is not taking command of a situation, it causes all kinds of chaos. And, players aren't picking up on secondary or tertiary runs. They're not, recognizing certain situations. And a very loud vocal keeper can help keep you in the game. So, I have no problem if you pick up that option on Brad. I do think Sadic is somebody who doesn't get talked about all that much, but I think is someone who we should probably talk about more.
No doubt.
And I think that he's somebody who should absolutely come back. Brennan, that kid's going to be a stud. That's my 2 cents on it. And I also think that it's Firmino's time. I mean, from a budgetary perspective, from a quality perspective, I do think that both of those guys are people who you need to bring up and start running. So
the club's official salary information on Brad. Contract guaranteed. He signed the extension in 20, guaranteed to run through 23. The club's official salary info with option years included says they have contractual control over Brad until 2025. So that's the official wording on Brad Gazan's status. Contract is listed as going away at the end of this calendar year. Club's official salary info has option years to keep him under contractual control until 2025. So that's the verbiage that is available when it comes to Brad's status. So that's where we are.
Let's talk about something else here as well. That when Messi arrived, this was a moon landing moment for the league. Mm-hmm. Just like David Beckham arriving was a moon landing moment for the league. And if you have been watching the league since that time frame when Beckham showed up, the quality of play and the quality of player that came in because MLS said, okay, we're adding additional DPs. We are raising, and changing our salary structures to allow, more money for the mid-tier player. That's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Now that Messi's here, because the last thing they want, they want players like Messi to come in and be like, oh my God, yeah, let's get my buddy here and let's get this guy there and do what Miami's doing, which is I don't know if they have like access to the corporate Amex or not, but or maybe Messi the business man is paying. I have no idea, but you want higher grade mid-tier players. That's how you're going to compete better in CONCACAF Champions League. That's how you're going to compete in the Club World Cup. And that's how you get some of these star players calling back home and saying, hey, look, man, this league is legit. It's a lot of fun. And the quality of play is a hell of a lot better than we think it is. If MLS comes through again and says, we are upgrading the middle of the rosters, we're adding an additional DP slot, these conversations about, expiring contracts and who's going to leave right now, there may be some players who are like, yep, have a great time. Thank you for your service. See you when we see you. There may be some who we would normally be like, oh man, this really sucks. I think we're going to start seeing fewer of the moves of, oh my God, I can't believe we're letting this guy go. This really sucks. This is a terrible choice. But choices that have to be made because of when the contract comes up, how much money is on the books, how much money the agent is saying that they want. These conversations may become fewer and farther between because of potential changes to the salary cap structure, which we all know is like, it's like trying to read between like Leviticus and Genesis and trying to correlate things. Look, man, good luck to you. But, this is part and parcel of the salary cap league, that decisions have to be made. We see the same thing happen in the NFL. For those who are familiar with the Tennessee Titans, when they went on their run, when Jeff Fisher was actually competitive long ago in a galaxy far away, they had a running back by the name of Lorenzo Neal. And Lorenzo Neal blocked for Eddie George. And Eddie George put up career season after career season after career season. But when Lorenzo Neal's contract came up, Tennessee said, he's a fullback. We got to let him walk. We got to release him. He went to San Diego and then blocked for LaDainian Tomlinson, who put up Hall of Fame numbers after that.
Yes, he did.
And so as much as we massacre the Titans for releasing Lorenzo Neal, you have to look back at the time and say, what's the market rate for a fullback in this position? What are they wanting? How much can we afford without weakening the rest of our roster? The same conversations are happening within MLS now across the board. And so some of our favorite players are going to be let go. Some we're happy about, some we're not. At the end of the day, when the cap changes, a lot of this stuff is going to be altered and changed. And these types of conversations are going to shift fundamentally because of what we're seeing now with Messi and the impact it's having from eyeballs and across the board. From the metric standpoint, this is a game changer. So when we say winter is coming, understand that we may be misreading that prophecy a bit when that comes around, because these rules are going to change quickly. So just understand that.
And since it is the top of the hour, well, that means we have to do something. We got to take care of some bills. Take care of some business. And I have adjusted the music levels appropriately, hopefully, and we'll see if it loops. But if the music loops, that means I've talked entirely too long. So it's time to talk about our friends at Eliminize Service.
Ooh, Eliminize.
For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's our friends at Eliminize Service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Eliminize deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind to the environment. We like that these days.
We do.
Green way of going about getting rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Eliminize is different than Febreze or other masking agents that we have in our house, either underneath the sink of choice or above us in the cupboard.
Masker for Batman.
Yes, because when you reach under the sink or you reach above you in the cupboard and you pull out that masking agent and you spray the masking agent in the air, there's a reason they call it a masking agent.
Ooh, why?
Because you're just masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Eliminize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy. One of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you want more information about Eliminize service and how they can help you with your issues at home, this is where I grab my pen. You go to the website, eliminize.com, but do us a favor after the .com, go /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from, so they can help you with your issues, but in the sentence in a preposition. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta. Eliminize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH as we go through our Thursday thoughts.
Look at that. You don't want a mask. You think you want a mask. When you were a little kid, you wanted a mask. But you're an adult now. You don't need masks.
No, you don't need a mask.
You don't need a mask.
So that's our friends at Eliminize, and now we kick off hour number 2. Nico Moreno scheduled to join us at the bottom of the hour to talk about Leagues Cup and anything else on his mind. Apparently, you're not supposed to get Lindsey Horan mad.
No.
It was dicey, and I mean it was a multi-screen experience last night for those of us here in market, because with the match kicking off, the Chelsea-Newcastle match kicking off at 8:15. That meant that at halftime, right after Miguel Almiron had scored, you could focus on the USA and the Netherlands. I mean, literally, you could turn the dial and go on your remote from Miggy, go straight to the USA and the Netherlands. But it was a bit of a slog last night. Great work by the Netherlands in the 17th minute. They had a 1-0 lead for a while. And then it seems that there was a moment in the 60s where Lindsey Horan went full, you-know-what. She went full badass and just decided to take things on herself. So she scores a goal in the 62nd. It was a really hard-fought 1-1 draw, which did not quite turn the group into chaos, even though 3 teams are separated by 1 point going into the final match day. So it was going to be very, very interesting when it comes to what we see with the national team on match day 3 in group. So Daniela Van de Donk tackles Lindsey Horan, and then apparently they got in each other's grills. So like I said, I was watching Miguel Almiron and what was going on with on the drive home. I did not quite make it home in time to see said tackle and the equalizer. So Lindsey Horan, in her post-match, Nick, went third person.
Ooh.
That's where you get the best football from Lindsey. I don't think you ever want to get me mad because I don't react in a good way. Usually I just go and I want something more. I want to win more. I want to score more. I want to do more for my team. So that moment, that little tackle, big tackle, changed a shift in my head because I want to do everything for my team and to win these games. Van de Donk, and this was Lyon on Lyon crime, by the way. They're teammates at Lyon. Van de Donk decides to go with the hard tackle on Horan, body checked her. Lindsey Horan ends up on the turf, slow to get up, and then on the corner that followed, they got in each other's grills. Horan gives Van de Donk a shove, and they were waiting for the restart. Then on the corner, Lavelle gives the corner. Horan runs into it and gets it past Daphne van Domselaar for your equalizer. And then it was another 30 minutes there. And she goes, Dan is that type of player. When she's on my team, it's incredible because she's going to fight to that last second to win a game or going to that last tackle. That's what she did. And unfortunately, I didn't take it in a good way. I got a little heated, and she got to hear it. Julie Ertz had to calm Haran down leading into the corner. Ertz says she didn't remember what she said, but Haran, who was already on a yellow from the Vietnam game, she says, Julie came up to me in the box and she was like, Linz, please don't get another yellow card. Just score this goal to shut everyone up. And that's what happened. Because after 2 yellows, you're suspended for the following match. And so then they moved on, obviously. And then there's pictures of Van de Donk and Haran. And Van de Donk, after later contact with Rose Lavelle, actually got opened up and they had to break out the swim cap so she could finish the match. I mean, Daniela Van de Donk, she took some punishment, especially from Rose Lavelle late. And Haran and Van de Donk, they answered questions next to each other in the mix zone and everything. So 1-1 draw, Group E right now. The U.S. is ahead on goal difference. And they play Portugal in the last match of the group stage. Netherlands gets Vietnam to decide who wins the group. U.S. has 4 points. They're above Netherlands by 2 in goal difference. Portugal right now at 3 points with a win and a loss. Vietnam has lost their first 2 matches. They're at -3 in goal difference. The top 2 are the only ones that get out of group. There's no third team that gets in and gets to be plugged in like you see in the Men's World Cup. Top two only. Match day last is going to be huge for Group E.
Well, I get that everyone's going to be wanting to pile on, Blatko and some of the pedestrian performances last night from the U.S. women's national team. But let's also give a little bit of credit to the Dutch for the way that they played as well. And look, the Dutch played well. And if you are, pulling back and looking at this from the 30,000, foot viewpoint, the rest of the world's catching up.
Oh, yeah.
The days of the U.S. women being able to just, steamroll everyone outside of Sweden and Japan, those days are largely done. And so, the Dutch are somebody that you have to look at for the next couple of cycles and say, man, can they keep this up? What are they, the style of play was nice. There were, to me, the downfall for them came when they started just trying to burn the clock out. It felt like they said, okay, we're going to take our foot off the gas and now we're just going to try to, retain the ball as much as we can, limit counterattacking options from the U.S. and, just try to ride this thing out. To me, that's where I take a bit of umbrage with the Dutch philosophy of the game. Outside of that, Haran, I love the third person deal with her. I've only heard, as much as people give it like this, all athletes do this. I've only seen this one other time in my life, and that's when I was working for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tampa lost. I'm trying to remember who they lost to. And Keyshawn Johnson was down and, had gotten dressed and put on his USC basketball jersey and was surrounded by reporters. And he said, look, Keyshawn Johnson is the best receiver in the National Football League. And because he was wanting the ball more. And they said, whoa, Jerry Rice is still in this league. He goes, Keyshawn Johnson is the best receiver in the National Football League. And I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive, right? I mean, you got to be really feeling yourself if you drop the third person.
Give me the damn sandwich.
And look, for Lindsay, that's when Lindsay's at her best. It's like, whoa, okay. Like, I love it. Look, man, the Barbie movie's out, and there's a monologue that I've read a couple of times that America Ferrera gives, where she talks about the difficulties of being a woman and how, you can be successful, but not too successful. You can be a boss, but you can't be tough. Look, I dial it up. Lindsey Horan, talk in third person. Turn up the volume, and anybody who gives you grief for it can have a Coke and a smile, and they can go rotate on the object of their choice. At the end of the day, this is the kind of attitude that I want. That in my opinion, really means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But, I want my daughter to look at players who have just as much confidence and display that confidence as the men. We sit there and we watch, the men parade around and peacock all over the screen, and when they have a beautiful moment, they stand there and they bask in their glory like a statue under the lights, with the roar of the mob around them. And the women are expected to be like, "Oh yes, thank you so much. It was a great goal, and I had a wonderful time." And da 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 da. No. We're done with that. Okay, that's played out. We're done with that. I want the statue. I want the roar of the crowd. If the stadium is full, they did not come for
be nice.
No, they didn't come there to watch a live reading of War and Peace. They came there for the spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
And if Lindsey Horan wants to come out and talk in third person and give spectacle, I'm 100% behind it. Light it up. Light it up.
There we are with that. So we mentioned Group E, and the other activity that happened in the overnight. Nigeria with the big win over host Australia at 6:00 this morning. 3-2, Nigeria gets full points at a plus 587 in the juice box.
Wow.
Australia was a minus 196 going in. And Portugal gets the 2-0 win over Vietnam. Obviously, is I guess they didn't want to be construed as evil juice boxes. They made it the minus 667 in the composite. They didn't go with the minus 666.
Yeah, we don't need the Amityville numbers.
No. So you got Portugal with a win, Nigeria with a big win over the host. But once again, when you don't have Sam Kerr out for the first two matches, that's what you're ending up with. And right now, heading into last match day, in Group B, Nigeria has the tiebreaker for the winning of the group on goals scored.
Mm-hmm.
The output that they had today, the goalless draw combined with the big win, means that right now they are one goal ahead of Canada. Nigeria and Canada would advance, but here's the interesting part. Group B finishes up with Canada, Australia on last match day, and Nigeria, Ireland. So Nigeria, if they take care of business against Ireland, they've lost their first two. They're -2 in goal difference. If Nigeria takes care of business, they get full points. They advance. They're, barring something that was to happen, they'd wrap up with 7 points. Canada right now, 4 points. Australia at 3 points. Australia, you don't think that they're not going to have their hair on fire for 9 negatives in a sentence? Canada and Australia, last match day on the 31st to determine who goes to the knockouts.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword for them, though, right? Because if they say, look, man, we are playing in front of our own people here. We're playing in front of, our own region. All the eyeballs are on us, and they are expecting a certain level of performance from one of the host nations. We have to turn up.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Excellent motivation. However, you can hang on too tight. You can the energy that you have from national pride and that sort of that hunger to win can quickly turn to desperation, and desperation can turn to overreaching, and then that turns into disaster. So there are a few things that I hate in the coaching world, these little slogans, the coachisms.
Yep.
One of them is like, act like you've been there before. No, I'm sorry. Tell that to Dan Marino. Okay. I mean, there are plenty of people who got really close to grabbing that brass ring and never got back.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they wish they could have done a lot of stuff differently. Look, act like you've never been there before, spray paint the walls, do the cartwheels and backflips, do everything, enjoy your moment, to drop a line from Blade Runner, revel in your time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are the Aussies, you must revel in your time. You must just come out and just play your game. Just come out and have fun and just do your best. That's it. And that's the worst, most bland, vanilla coach speak in the world. But if you hang on too tightly, Canada, as dysfunctional as that org is, can get you. So don't give them the storyline they want. Just come out, play your game, and the Aussies can, maybe sneak through. But good for Nigeria, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
Good for Nigeria.
Big win for Nigeria today in Group B. Group A right now, Switzerland is leading the group with 4 points, and it's an interesting setup for last match day on the 30th. Switzerland, New Zealand, 1-2 right now in group, 4 points and 3 points. New Zealand's ahead of the Philippines on goal difference. Philippines get Norway, one of the surprises of the tournament, 1 point in their 2 matches. They have the 1 draw, and that is it. Philippines and Norway. Philippines could send Norway home and then figure out what's going on above them with Switzerland and New Zealand to figure out Philippines as a debutante. New Zealand could make their way in out of Group B. So Group A. So Group A is going to be fun. Group C is all decided except for the positioning. Spain and Japan have won their first 2 against Costa Rica and Zambia. Still determining what's going to be 1 and what's going to be 2 because Spain plays Japan last match day in Group C. So we've got that to look at coming up. The matches today with our juice boxes, very, very early in the morning. It'll be at 4:30, England and Denmark. England's a minus 200 in the juice boxes. And then at 7 o'clock, China's playing Haiti. China is a minus 149. And the Haiti national team, and if you haven't been able to read up on the Haitian national team, please do. Right now they're at a plus 4.25 to win, draws a plus 270. So 2 matches tomorrow, 4:30 and 7:30 in the morning before we come on. And Friday is a normal start time as I sit here and look at things. I think Luke Winstall's going to be joining us from Brisbane at 9:05, and we'll see what happens there. Friends from Beyond Goals hopefully will join us at 9:30, 10 o'clock. We'll set you up for the weekend and get you ready. Once again, the Twos and crew are from the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. Pre-game show 15 minutes before kick on Friday night. So 7:15 pregame, 7:30 kick here on the SDH network. And Matias Gajardo, 19-year-old from River Plate, joins on a free for the remainder of the year with an option for 1 more for 24. And Chris Gloucester, who has been loaned from Major League Soccer, because when they do that, remember, it's an entity loan. His contract is under Major League Soccer. And so Chris Gloucester joins to get some reps and get some playing time and see where his game is. And so we'll see what happens there. So Gloucester, a defender, Matias Gajardo joining as well, the 19-year-old joining the Twos. And we'll see how long until they are integrated into the system with Steve Cook and what we're staring at with that. So very, very cool stuff this morning with Women's World Cup and with the Twos in the news. Leagues Cup, we haven't gotten into that yet. And we also haven't gotten into news of the morning. So let's get into news in the morning with Nico supposedly joining us at 10:30. We'll save Leagues Cup for Nico. So
let me stretch a little time here then.
Yeah, go for it.
One thing I want to point out for the Women's World Cup, I want people to take a gander at Group A. Grupo A.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Switzerland at the top of the table. They are being fired along by former Atlanta Beat first overall signing, Ramona Bachmann, Ramona Bachmann, when she arrived in WPS version 2, was a bust in every sense of the word, right? Look, she was very, very young, was expected to be the next Marta. That was what they were saying. Oh, she's the next Marta. So much pressure put on such a young player. And to watch her now thriving with the Switzerland women's national team. She plays for PSG. But to see the growth and development of Ramona Bachmann, to me, is spectacular. And don't count them out, because if she is on her game, she can wreck just about anyone. And so, as much as we may look at some of the stalwarts of the women's game and say, oh, well, yes, these players with the U.S. women's national team or Marta, if you're just covering that surface level, that's great. But keep an eye on Ramona Bachmann and Switzerland. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you can put this on the board. When something happens, bigger, good or bad, you come back and you talk to the group that's talking about this stuff, and that's STH, baby. Yeah.
See, you're getting all. See, you're right there with it. You're right there on the cusp. You're right there on all of the cusp of the information, and it's all right there. Yeah. See,
that's right. Look, I have played against some of the women in this tournament. I have played against some of the women in this tournament, and I'm telling you, for any dude who's like, ain't nobody care about the women's game, man.
I could score against them.
I guarantee you cannot. I guarantee that you cannot.
Uh-huh.
And these ladies are ballers. Uh-huh. So I love that the tournaments are so competitive now. I love that some of the young names that we saw, back in like what was it, 2010, are really showing out now and really reaching the promise that came up, that was put on their names. To see teams like Nigeria leading the table, to see Spain and Japan. Japan's the stalwart; they've been there for a while, but see Spain, really overcoming the issues that they've had to overcome to be there. To see Denmark, Johanna Rasmussen is probably very happy right now, back in Denmark, thrilled out of her mind with this. But England sitting at 2. This is Group D is very interesting, mm-hmm. right? I mean, I would have expected England to be at the top of the group with no problems at all. Group B, we know it's going to be the U.S. and probably the Netherlands on the way out of there, and Brazil, France. Those are 2 traditional powers right there. Chambly's own is on Jamaica.
Yeah, Soleil, Washington.
That's right. So if you're in the Georgia area, you should be paying attention to Jamaica, because one of your own is on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Sweden and Italy in Group G. My Azzurre are they beat Argentina to get out of the gate. Mm-hmm. Look at that. That's payback for Finalissima, Jason.
Yes.
I hope if you're listening, Jason, that the ladies, as always, the Italian women always handle business. The Italian women handling business for Finalissima. Mm-hmm. And, we sitting that nice and second in Group G. Gruppo H.
Yes.
Germany and Colombia.
Yeah.
I expected maybe South Korea to have a little bit of a better showing, but good for them. But there's so much in this tournament that's exciting and really shows the growth of the women's game that I think is something that needs to be showcased more than Fire Vlatko or Lindsey Horan talking in third person. We really, and this goes out to the women's product has been so horrifically underserved for so long that I think they're still being underserved in certain aspects of the media. I'm just thrilled right now that I can take my daughter and we can sit on the couch and we can watch the Women's World Cup, and she sees badass women with ponytails and pigtails just like she wears flying down the field. That is, if you don't have kids, and guys, if you don't have a little girl in your life, I'm telling you, when your daughter is like, who's that? And who's that? And who's this? And oh, she's really good. Oh, I want to be like her. And you start seeing that. That's the thing we always talk about, like, it's representation, right?
Yeah.
And to see that on the big screen, on the biggest stage of them all, is really damn cool. And I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Well, and Nigeria, just for folks that don't know, their coach has been very, very vocal with the federation about non-payment of salary. And so everybody knows that there's conflict between the coach and the Fed. The coach is Texas-born Randy Waldrum. He has been called by the federation an incompetent loudmouth, Mr. Blabbermouth Waldrum, and the worst ever manager of the Super Falcons by a country mile. So the worst ever manager of the Super Falcons by a country mile probably delivered one of the biggest wins in the history of that national team with the win earlier today over Australia. And I know that sometimes we're prone to hyperbole here because of things like that. But you're at the top of your group and you play the last team that is currently in your group. You could win your group.
Mm-hmm.
Like Canada and Australia fight it out for themselves to figure out who's going to be the two and have the tougher path. I mean, you literally could make your way into the Sweet 16 fairly easily if you win your group. You take care of business. If that Texan takes care of business on match day 3, then Nigeria wins the group, and they would end up playing the B side out of a neighboring group. But you could be in the Sweet 16 with a Texan as a head coach since Nigeria beat Australia today. Fantastic stuff by Randy Waldrum.
That's right.
Gossip, rumor, and innuendo before Nico joins us. Manchester United have made a verbal offer, and this is either going to be in euros or pounds. I will let you know. Manchester United verbal offer €50 million to plus 10 million in add-ons to Atalanta for 20-year-old forward Rasmus Højlund. PSG, who are interested in Højlund, have offered a higher salary to the player, whose priority is a move to Manchester United. Juve sporting director Cristiano Giuntoli is going to travel to England to negotiate a loan deal with Chelsea for Romelu Lukaku, Nick.
This will be seismic in Serie A. If you're an Interista, you know that you cannot. Juve is arch enemy number one, right? More than it, because you can hate Milan, you can hate anyone else, but the hatred for Juve from both Milan groups is like second to none. And for Lukaku to go about his business the way he did when he flamed out at Chelsea,
and I'm going to step out and do this myself,
and went back home to Inter. Right. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I blew all my money. And Inter took him back with open arms. And look, the Curva Nord they are not a forgiving bunch. And to have it happen where you negotiate with Juve, did you not think that it was going to get out?
Mm-hmm.
And now it just meeting with Juve.
You freelanced, man.
Just meeting with them. You're not even getting a dime from them. Just meeting with Juventus burns the bridges to Inter. You can never go back. Once you have done this, it's not happening. There's no way in the world that you would get one moment's peace if Lukaku was able to go back to Inter. There's not one. If the board said, we don't care what the supporters think, we're going to make it happen, Lukaku would not get one moment's peace in Milan. Not one. The stupidity of Lukaku's agent not to read this. The stupidity of Lukaku thinking that he could make the move to Juve and have it just, no harm, no foul. I'm sorry. Just tell me that somebody's asleep at the wheel. If Lukaku's agent were in front of me, I'd ask him if he was drinking Drano recreationally. The stupidity of this is just it's beyond ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
After a team, and I am red and black through and through, but for the Inter supporters who backed Lukaku when the whole world was mocking him, when the whole world was making fun of him. Oh, you're losing Megan Thee Stallion. Oh, haha. You missed the header that could have tied up Champions League. And who was there for you, pal? The blue and blacks were there for you. I think it's a dumb decision. Probably a dumb decision to wear blue and black anyway, but they were there to support you. And then you go and you say, I'm going to go talk to Juventus? Cocaine's a hell of a drug, my man.
That ain't smart.
No, it is not. My God. I mean, look, and also I think it's a stupid move for Juventus. Look, if you want to go sign Lukaku, baby, have fun, because I don't want that. They were saying, well, he may go to Milan. No. Nope. Nope. It's like the Martians on Sesame Street. Nope. That's have it. If you want a guy who can't put the ball in the back of the net from a half a foot away, I like setting money on fire as well. So have fun. Mm-hmm. Completely stupid. I cannot believe that he was so foolhardy to do this.
Let's see. Mbappe is not interested in meeting Al Hilal's reps over a possible move to Saudi Arabia, but they are in advanced stages, meaning Al Hilal, in their bid to sign Verratti from PSG, according to Fabrizio Romano.
That move's interesting to me. Verratti is somebody who has, by not playing any large chunk of his career in Italy, there have been a lot of people who they put him in the class of the Oriundi, which is the people who like the foreigners who get the dual citizenship and play for the Azzurri. And so sometimes they will gloss over certain people who fit that bill. You saw that in 2006, but with Verratti and the recent struggles with the Azzurri not making the World Cup, there have been conversations that that Verratti, if he had been playing in Italy, might have a bit more passion. And so if he takes this money and goes to Saudi Arabia, all it's going to do is continue that conversation in Italy of Verratti's only in it for money. He doesn't care about Italy. He doesn't care about the colors. He only cares about Verratti and money. And so I don't know if that's fair at all, but that's the conversation that's taking place. So
Chelsea looks set to lose out on Paulo Dybala, as it looks like he has signed a new contract at Roma, from our friends at Tutto Mercato Web.
He's happy in Roma. He has rediscovered himself after Juve broke his soul. This is a great move for Dybala to stay in Roma. It's a beautiful fit for Dybala, for Roma. It gives them star power that they desperately need. It's good on you, Dybala. Don't take that money.
West Ham could miss out on signing Conor Gallagher, who we saw last night at Mercedes-Benz. He wants to stay at Chelsea and fight for a place under new boss Maurizio Pochettino. That's from the four-letter paper, so take the information at your own peril. Meanwhile, West Ham are continuing talks with Southampton and James Ward-Prowse, with a deal now believed to be possible. The funny part with this, and I say funny in the raising of the eyebrow, Liverpool set to improve on their initial £37 million bid for 19-year-old midfielder Romeo Lavia. They're apparently $15 million apart in their valuations, meaning Liverpool and Southampton. Southampton views a 19-year-old Belgian midfielder to be $50 million in their valuation. Liverpool came in with 37 at the beginning. A lot of folks were wondering about James Ward-Prowse, thinking, okay, he's probably, so if Lavia is worth 50, the valuation for 50 for Southampton, then what's James Ward-Prowse, worth, considering his set piece value and how he's basically a set piece scoring machine? And apparently Ward-Prowse has a lower valuation than 19-year-old Romeo Lavia, and it's going to be easier to get rid of James Ward-Prowse than it would be to sign Romeo Lavia. That to me is just odd across the board.
Yeah.
Yep. The Reds, meaning Liverpool, expected to accept the £40 million offer from Al Ittihad for Fabinho after talks have restarted. I'm guessing that the situation involving his French Bulldogs has been resolved. Because apparently you can only bring in certain breeds into Saudi Arabia, and Bulldogs are viewed as a breed that is hostile across the board. I mean, it doesn't matter. But so Fabinho and his family have posted photos of the French Bulldogs wearing Christmas sweaters and things like that. And I don't know if you went to some kind of dog tribunal or something like that to explain that these are not angry dogs. They might be angry at you because they don't know you and haven't met you yet, and they may bark, and they're going to protect the family, but they're not angry as a species.
Yeah.
And so, that was one of the big things that they were trying to discuss with Fabinho and his transfer to Saudi Arabia.
Is Nico waiting in the lobby?
Not at the moment, no, sir.
Okay, all right. Let me give you guys a bit of wisdom from the production world, right? So film, television, whoever has the money has the power, right? It is leverage. Money is leverage. The more money someone gives you, the more leverage they have over you, right? The more power they have. If somebody gives you a ton of money, they can dictate certain terms of your project, right? So like when Kevin Smith was going to make Superman, and the producer said, "Look, we want Superman to be depowered." Huh? That doesn't make any damn sense. That's not really a Superman movie. Great, right? Yeah. Still, anyway. And we want him to fight a giant spider. Right? There's a YouTube clip on this. Just YouTube Kevin Smith Superman, and he explains it. But the producer wanted Superman depowered and wanted him fighting a giant spider. Kevin Smith said, "This is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life. I'm walking away." Right? The same producer went on to make Wild Wild West, it featured Will Smith as a normal dude fighting what at the end of the movie? A giant robot spider. Okay, the guy just had something about giant spiders. I don't know. But this guy would dump cash into a project and then come in and try to dictate all the terms of things he wanted to see in the movie. The same thing goes with these teams that are offering these players these absolutely bat blank contracts, is that they then can put on these exceptionally stupid rules, and you have to follow if you want the money. So if you want to go and take that money in Saudi Arabia to create unbelievable generational wealth for yourself, yes, bat guano, perfect, Hutcho. The guanomania. If you want to take the guanomania contract in Saudi Arabia, you better be ready to play by all of their rules and things that are important to them, that involve things that I think are bat guano, like every breed of bulldog is, terrible. Okay, good luck. But you took the money. You take the money. You gotta play by the rules. That's why Messi came here. You think anyone in Miami is telling Messi a damn thing? No, not at all. They're probably going to shut down a Publix like Michael Jackson going through an antique shop in Vegas. They're going to shut it down so he can walk through in peace, so he can go get a pub sub in peace. If they pay you, okay, they own you. You have to be able to dictate what your walk away point is. And that's why Mbappe is turning down an obscene contract with the Saudis, because he knows that he can go and live in Madrid and live the life he wants and still have absolute insane wealth for the rest of his life. There's always a cost to doing business.
Yep.
Forever and always. That's one lesson my dad taught me that stuck with me. Son, there's always a cost to doing business. You have to figure out what that is. It's not always money. So that's a lesson I pass on any chance I get. Anytime you see a bit of business done, whether it's good or bad, look at it from the standpoint is, what is the cost of doing business in this situation? Is it someone's peace? Is it someone's quality of life? There's always a catch.
Yes, Hutcho's Guano Mania for the win, by the way.
There we go.
Also in your transfer bucket, PSG and Renato Sanchez close to signing a season-long loan agreement with Roma.
All right, good. Yeah, good for them. PSG's in a weird situation, man.
They are.
They try to do the Harlem Globetrotters thing of building a super roster, and it didn't change one. They literally went and played FIFA Ultimate Team, and it failed miserably.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you're going to do your moves like getting Renato Sanchez, then but by all means, man, go for it. I mean, you can't hurt anything. You already know what you had when you dumped all the money in. So
you got that. Villa hopes of signing Giovanni Lo Celso have been boosted as Napoli have yet to close a deal for the 27-year-old, courtesy of our friends at Birmingham Live.
Yeah, Aurelio De Laurentiis, his transfer strategies only make sense to Aurelio De Laurentiis, and so it seems to work. So I'm not really going to question the man, but if Aurelio's not signing him, I can promise you there's a reason.
Rico Lewis, 18-year-old for Manchester City, has agreed to a 5-year deal, which will have an option for a further year. And Nathan Ake is also set to sign a new deal with Manchester City. That's from the 4-letter paper, so take the information at your own peril. And also from the 4-letter paper, Everton do not have any desire to sell Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who has been linked with a move to Roma.
Oh, all right.
So that's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo this morning, and we'll see what's going on there. Leagues Cup. We haven't really gotten into Leagues Cup, and I know that you haven't visited since what happened down in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now that you've had a couple days to kind of ruminate on it and getting ready for the last group match day on Saturday, Cruz Azul and Atlanta. That's on the free side of Apple TV and Univision, 7 o'clock start. So it's probably 7:09 if we go by Apple constructs. It is, as Jarrett and I were discussing yesterday, it's going to be a street fight. It's going to be, in Tuco Ferretti's case, the celestial guillotine could happen if he loses this match. They are last in the Apertura in Liga MX right now. 3 matches in, bottom of the table. They've only scored once. They've given up 6, but this is going to be a street fight coming up on Saturday.
What I would like is, there are times when you're coaching kids, especially, right? And all of them want to just go and score. That's it. As soon as the ball gets to their feet, they're trying to score. Okay. And so you as a coach say, all right, kids, you got to learn to work together. So you have to execute like 7 passes before you can shoot. And the kid's like, and it takes about like a week, especially the younger the kids, right? So, I mean, I'm talking like these are like the 5 and 6 year olds.
Right.
If you can imagine me coaching 5 and 6 year olds, okay. But I want the opposite. I want Gonzo to in practice to be like, look, guys, you got to take 4 shots before you pass. Up front, you got to take 4 shots before you start doing dummies and before you start doing passes, cross box, anything like that. I want 4 shots. Okay, that's it. This shoot. You get within the 18, the ball's at your feet. Just fire. Just put it on frame. I need that, because what I was seeing in the Miami game was that they had chances, and that to me is the most frustrating part, right? When you have the chances and you're doing dump offs and you're 2 feet from the line. My brother in Christ, put the ball in the back of the net. Just put your foot behind it, hammer and nail. You're not trying to dance around it. You're not trying to do cartwheels around it. Hammer, nail. And if you have a weird angle, great. It's going to look better on the highlight reel. Put the shot on frame. Just do something. Because if it rebounds in a weird way, maybe it falls to one of your players and something there. How Almada did not start ripping people's heads off at the end of the first half, it was beyond me, because Almada's putting the ball in dangerous areas, and it just seemed like everybody just their eyeballs went super huge and the goal shrank down to about 3 inches in width. I don't know. But to me, that was extraordinarily problematic. Why Sosa dropped off and did not continue on that run with Messi should be studied thoroughly by footballing scholars for all time. Just why? Just create a list of why Sosa stopped doing the run. It's messy. I get it. I do. And I also get the fact that if I were in that situation, I would probably be watching Messi as well. But you have a choice now, which is if you're Atlanta United, do we really want to divert any attention and resources into Leagues Cup? Or do we just want to get out of this damn thing and get focused and ready to go for league play? To me, that is something where that's a very real adult conversation that needs to be had. You want to try to I get everybody says, hey, look, we want to win every game. We're not going out to intentionally lose. It seems to me like that. So you always want to go out there and try your best, but realistic expectations might come into play. And yeah, Ricky, 3 weeks with no games does not seem like a good thing in some cases. But if the training time allows for you to clean things up or get people healthy, where you can sit a player who maybe is having lingering injury issues, hamstrings, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, quads, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and they can sit. They can work through rust, but if I can get them healthy and start like somebody like Miguel Barry as opposed to Giacomakis, great. That's my 2 cents on it, because the league to me is more important than Leagues Cup. And that's where we are right now, in my opinion, because you're just trying to be healthy so that way you can be as competitive as possible post All-Star break. But the idea of, we're going to just open the defense and say, okay, great, everybody have a run because, we're sort of cashing out. To me, that doesn't make any sense. That is not going to endear you to any future transfers.
Yep.
Hey, yeah, we're a team that really sucks and we're we're also a team that's phoning it in. You're not going to get some kid who's going to show up and ball out for you, or who's going to show up and say, yeah, I'll take that money and come to America, because they'll take that money from America, but they'll end up going to a team that is, probably more competitive. But and Mila says the team is fairly healthy outside of GG. Training is not doing much, so might as well play. I disagree with that, because I think we've seen what this team is without Giacomakis up top, where it becomes the attack sort of goes into loggerheads until you get that free kick where Almada can put it on frame. I think that if you rest Giacomakis and let him get as healthy as possible, great. Remember that he came right out of Scotland season right into MLS, so he needs as much time, in my opinion, as humanly possible to get as healthy as he's going to be this season. But it's hard for me to get over the frustration that came from the attack.
Yeah.
In this, where it seemed like everybody was trying to dump the ball, pass the ball, move the ball like 6 yards away from the damn goal.
Nothing wrong with being selfish.
There's nothing wrong in that part with being selfish, right? It's like what Pep said. Pep said, look, we can have everything hyper organized and scripted from the back to the front. But once we get to the 18, that's why we're paying you to freelance, to be creative, to be that devastator in front of the opponent's goal. That's what we need now. in my opinion. It's you know, I don't know what it is. What some of the stuff was just mind bending. Barry's dummy to about 600 square feet of oxygen made me scream at the television. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure. Look, if you asked Miguel Barry, brother, what were you thinking in that moment? He will probably tell you, hey, look, player X was supposed to make this run. For some reason, player X did not make that run. He's probably not going to throw anyone under the bus. He'll probably just say, hey, look, man, I had a brain fart. I don't know. But if you ask him, I'm sure in an honest moment, he'd probably say somebody was supposed to make that run and they weren't there. So that's something they got to figure out. But Jesus, I need the attack to start clicking. I don't care who it is. The attack needs to start working.
All right. So the other action that happened last night to settle things up, as Rich Ransom has reminded us about your group champion Philadelphia Union.
Ain't nobody give a damn about the Philadelphia Union.
Understandably so. All right. So here's what happened. Here's what happened last night. DC over Montreal by the score of 1-0. NYC put 5 on Toronto last night. And
yeah, they're a mess. Oh, God, they're a mess.
Won 5-0. Insigne apparently hurt Bernadeschi back from suspension.
Oh, can I pause you there?
Please, you do.
Look, for anyone who's like, fire everyone, get everyone out of here. Look, you could be Toronto, where you have 2 of your designated players actively saying, get me out, loudly to media sources. Get me out. I will take where Atlanta is over where Toronto is right now, any day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Philadelphia, to Rich's point, beat Querétaro 5-1 last night. Gazdag had a big night for them. New England, apparently 5 was the magic number last night. New England put 5 on Atletico San Luis at Gillette. Monterrey shuts out RSL in a bit of a surprise at Rio Tinto, 3-0. León beats LAG at Dignity Health Sports Park after a day's delay in Vancouver, 1-0. Tigres over Portland by the score of 2-1 at Providence Park, which gives us the standings coming into today and how things are laid out. Tigres right now is ahead in Group 1, ahead of Portland on it's matches played. Basically, Portland's done. They're in the barn. They've got 3 points. Tigres right now at the top of the group. Group 2, Monterrey and RSL both at 3 points, but RSL is done. Seattle is the big question right now. Seattle and Monterrey are match day last to figure out who the second team is going to be. Sounders have 1 loss in the match that they played against Monterrey, so against RSL early on. So Monterrey and Seattle will determine if that one goes in the blender or what happens with that one. Group 3, León, they are in at 5 points. They have clinched Group 3. Vancouver and LAG will determine who is the second team out of Group 3. Vancouver has 1 point. LAG has none. Group 4, Crew have the only points so far. The only match that's been played in Group 4. Crew is ahead. They've got 3 points in their match against St. Louis City. Club America has yet to play in Group 4. Group 5, Minnesota United. They're the only ones that have played, along with Puebla. They got the win. They are at 3 points. Other groups that are trying to figure themselves out, Mazatlan have clinched Group 8. They are at 2 matches and 5 points. They're in the barn. Juarez and Austin will determine who's the second team out of Group 8. Houston Dynamo are done in Group 9. They have 3 points in their 2 matches. Orlando City's at 2. Santos Laguna is at 1. Their last game on match day last on the 30th will determine the second team out of Group 9. We know about Inter Miami. We know about Cruz Azul. We know about Atlanta United. That's that group as well. So that group we know. Group 11, Dallas in the barn at 4 points. Charlotte and Necaxa will figure out who the second one is in Group 11. Group 12, Rich mentioned it, Philadelphia's in. Tijuana and Querétaro will determine who the second team is out of that group. DC United and Pumas will determine who is the second team out of that group. Montreal in the barn with 2 points. Group 14, NYC is done with 3 points. Atlas and Toronto will determine who is the last team out of that group. Revs in the barn with 4 points. Red Bulls and Atletico San Luis will determine the second team out of Group 15. So that's where we are with that. Next matches today, we have juice boxes. Chivas and Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a plus 104. Chivas on the win is a plus 236. Your draw is a plus 250. Minnesota United, the Loons are a minus 130, hosting the Fire at a plus 318. 8:30 Nashville and Toluca. Nashville's a plus 104 at Geodis. Your draw and Toluca are basically within the margin of error in and around plus 245. 10 o'clock Club America in all caps. It is Club America's at a plus 112. And St. Louis City SC is at a plus 248 to draw. And your win for St. Louis City is a plus 217. For the day off on Friday, everybody goes on Saturday and Sunday to determine what else is laid out. So, but yeah, and it also helps when, when you're in your group and you play your first 2 matches at home with your new acquisitions too. Just
Can I throw something else out there, which is a bit frustrating to me?
We got a couple minutes to go for it.
Okay, right. So I saw a lot and some, I saw a tweet that went out that essentially that since Tata left, nothing good's happened with Atlanta United, and I expect to be subtweeted into oblivion about this, and that's fine. Look, Frank got you within 1 game of a return to MLS Cup,
and
right?
There was one defensive assignment that was missed, and
one defensive assignment that was missed. I watched that sequence for about 3 months. And yeah, it's pretty glaring. Frank also got, and you could call it a cheap trophy. I don't care. He got you a Campeones Cup. He got you a U.S. Open Cup, right? Are those accurate statements?
Campeones, yeah. I'm trying to think. When did Frank get the?
U.S. Open?
Hang on, just a second. Yeah, keep talking.
Okay, my thing is this. There are a lot of teams around the league that would be thrilled with Atlanta's trophy case. A lot. And FDB did get screwed here. Okay? He was the child of 2 very, very, yes, the murder of Naby, yes. Frank de Boer was massacred.
Open Campeones in 19, yes.
Yeah, so he won the Campeones Cup, which people may mock. I don't care. Everyone seemed in the stadium to be really happy with that. Everyone seemed really happy with U.S. Open Cup. They called him de-boring. They massacred him, right? Get him out. We don't want him here. Give me my exciting Atlanta back. All of this, make Atlanta great again. There are people in the fan base and in the media, and I'll say his name because I have no problems with it. And if Felipe Cardenas of The Athletic wants to talk to me about it and say I'm wrong, it is at Nicolifi on Threads and on Twitter, because I'm a grown man and I will point out things where I think that there's inaccuracies. And this has nothing to do with Felipe as a man. It has more to do with my take on his particular tweet after the Miami game, where he talked about Atlanta essentially being a disaster since Tata left. He mentions nothing about the Campeones Cup win, nothing about the U.S. Open Cup win, nothing about almost going back-to-back MLS Cup final appearances.
Nothing about Miami.
And that to me, if you're going to say that this team has been a disaster since Tata left, and you omit by intention or by accident that 2019 run with De Boer, I would strongly suggest you go back and rethink that particular tweet that you put out in the moment, and understand the weight that you carry by being a journalist of a large-scale publication like The Athletic, right? I'm sorry, I would just expect that glaring omission would be corrected pretty quickly. You are in a cap league where you have to make very, very tough choices. As I recall, there was an interview with Tata Martino where he said after he left Atlanta and took the Mexico job that if he were a younger man, that he would have stayed in Atlanta. Tata's wife, Tata had no desire to stay here past the Cup run. He wanted a slower pace of life, which meant going to do the national team job for Mexico. His wife did not live in Atlanta. His wife lived in Argentina. She did not want to move to America. So Tata said, okay, I'm going to try something else out. Why he came back to Miami, I don't know. I haven't heard an interview from it, so I'm not going to try to put words in the man's mouth or try to get into his head. I can only talk about the interviews that happened while he was manager of Mexico. I will say that Frank de Boer, if you read any of the Dutch publications about him, about Frank and his wife, they are, by all accounts, from what I've read up to that point, very happy couple. They love being together. She said, his wife, Frank de Boer's wife, said, we are homebodies. We don't go to parties. We don't go out. We mainly spend a bunch of our time together. And when COVID hit, she left. She left America, not Frank, and went back to the Netherlands. Frank was here by himself. Somebody who was used to being around his wife all the time now did not have his support system here in place.
That sucks.
Yes. And there's some of you guys out there who are not happy with your spouses. You want to get away from your spouse. So the golf course, the bars, whatever. But there are some people who are very thrilled at being around their partner, their companion, their best friend. And I don't care who you are. As a man or a woman, that will break you. And so I'm not shocked that the wheels fell off whenever Frank had to go and spend a month in quarantine down in Orlando, and the wheels fell off, and then Joseph's knee happens. I'm tired of things not being brought into the full context. Were there mistakes made? Hell yes, there were mistakes made. In my opinion, there were mistakes made. But I'm not going to sit there and say that this whole thing has been a damn disaster. If you're only looking season to season, then yes, it is a disaster. Season to season, if you take everything out of context. But I am asking people like Felipe, when they talk about this team, Atlanta has been terrible since Tata left, to have that glaring omission of Frank de Boer's 2019 run is absurd. And I would also like to point out that he talks about the number of coaches that Atlanta's had since then. Are you factoring in, and this is a question, are you factoring in interim managers? Are you factoring in interim managers? Because not every interim manager is set to become the guy at the top. That's what I'm wondering. If you're factoring in interim managers, is that a fair argument to make? I don't know. Is it technically 100% literally correct? Yeah. But talk to me about the full-time managers. Okay? And we can talk about, I think Heinze was, I clearly that was a mistake culturally. When Blank has to come out and say, yeah, culturally, we think this was a mistake. I am in full agreement. But all I'm saying is, and I'm not saying anything bad about Felipe, the man, but I am saying that if you put a tweet out that does not bring the totality of information to bear, I'm sorry, that's poor journalism.
It is.
And I'm asking him to change that up and to at least put in there. Yes, Ricky Ricardo, Glassy and Rob Valentino should not be viewed that way. Rob Valentino was an assistant. Glassy was the second team manager that you called in when things went sideways. You talk about some of the contracts that have been written. You had the injury run. I know we're over time, and I'm sorry, but when you have the injuries, you have to make deals, and agents know they have you over the barrel. They're going to sign contracts that are more beneficial to the player. And you're over the barrel. What are you going to do? You're going to call up a bunch of academy kids? We got to be competitive as possible. So you make deals. Some of them you wouldn't have made in a perfectly healthy scenario. So now you're getting to the end of some of these deals. And we will watch to see how these deals play out. But is Atlanta United where I want them to be now? No, they are not. Full stop, unequivocally, no. I would like them. I think they have the talent right now to be better. I think anybody, if you got on the plane like Jason and Mike do, because they ride the same damn plane, and you walk down that aisle, and you were to sit with each person you walk past, ask yourself two things. One, would I butcher those players and those coaches on social media and then immediately have to walk past them on a plane? Because if you do, grab what's between your legs and hang tight, because there's a cost to being 100% brutal about your words and then having to meet people face to face. We've been living in a digital world for too long, because sometimes these Twitter fingers, they turn to 5 fingers across your face when you meet in real life. But the second thing I would say is, if you had the opportunity to sit down and talk to each of these people, Brad, Gonzo, anybody else associated with this team, said, look, are we really happy with where we are right now? And you didn't have, I have to protect my players from the media and protect, I'm pretty sure they would say, yeah, we're not happy. We're working on it. We're working on it.
Yeah.
No, hell no, we're not happy. We're working on it. That's not sunshine pumping. I'm not saying we're winning the cup this year. I don't think we are. I don't think we're winning the MLS Cup this year. But I much prefer people to say, yeah, we're working on it, as opposed to some fictional, like some Gordon Ramsay type, response where, yeah, well, my players are donkeys and they're terrible. And, they all deserve to be, thrown out and doing, ditch digging for the rest of their lives. That doesn't do any damn good. You know what I'm saying? And Airborne DJ, I haven't heard the part about not actually being able to meet him in person, but I understand. But look, I watched this fan base butcher. I watched media butcher Frank DeBoer time in, time out. And now I'm seeing so many people who are like, well, God, maybe Frank wasn't that bad. It is not in our nature as fans to be patient. It's not. However, you are in a league with limited funds, owners who have unlimited ability in every other of the world to spend their money. But in the league, there's roster constraints, there's salary constraints, there are things that you have to work. You have to be 10-10-10. And even LAFC is having trouble retaining the talent from their cup-winning side. I'm just stating it right now that so many people have been told to get out of town and pack their bags, only to later on be like, oh man, we probably shouldn't have done that. I'm asking for the same thing now, and just say, look, if you want person X, Y, or Z gone, awesome. Your prerogative. Have fun with it. I'm not going to argue with it, because I'm 43 years old and I don't have that kind of time. But if you're going to follow the arguments of people and you're the person who is trying to put a certain point forward, please provide it in as full of context as possible, so we understand what the hell you're trying to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is, I don't think we're winning MLS Cup this year. And if I meet Gonzo face to face, I hope Gonzo looks at me and says, you short, bald clown, I'm going to prove you wrong. I want him to say that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want him to follow through on it. There are times I want to be wrong. I don't think Atlanta United's winning MLS Cup this year. I don't think we're walking home with any silverware this year. I think that's not going to be solved in one transfer window for the summer, which is why I'm not getting worked up about the summer transfer window. Right. I do think a lot of it's going to be solved in winter. And with that, I'm going to shut my mouth, because I've been going way, way too damn long, and we're almost 10 minutes over.
I needed to get you to start this at 10:30.
I know, but it takes me a while to get juiced up, man.
I know it does. All right, so that's the show today. We got stuff to do, and we're going to get ready for the twos and the crew. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05. Hopefully, Luke Winston will join us from Brisbane. and we'll get his views on what's going on. It's going to be a big weekend for the Matildas after what happened last time out. So, Nick, since you are over there and I'm over here, go ahead and send us home.
Yeah, I got nothing really fun or light to say at the end of it. Just take a breath. Just take a breath, So just take a breath and chill out. If you elect not to get your season tickets, that's your business. I am not in your pocketbook, so I don't know. Make your own calculus. But until then, do your own calculus, take a breath, and mucho yo.
What he said. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 9:05.